Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs, the ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by Chris Mason. Chris left his corporate job 7 months ago after building a consulting business evenings and weekends after work. He had to pursue his own vision of being his own boss, making his own hours, and doing business on his terms. With a wife and 2 kids, it was no small decision, but he made it, hasn't looked back, and hasn't had to touch his savings either. He helps businesses implement sales and marketing funnels based on current best practices and results. He's a perfect blend between the creative entrepreneur and organized project manager who learns best by doing. I've asked him to join us here today to talk about what he's seeing work for his clients so we can implement it for ourselves. Plus, for those listening who have a full-time day job, get some tips on sidestepping out of it without making waves at home. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing great, Daryl. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor and it's a pleasure. And, at some point I want to bring up your daughter's thing because I just think it's so awesome. But first I want to talk about you and how did you get into sales and marketing? Because I mean, eventually you had a corporate job, but what was your job? And that's a really scary decision. And had you been an entrepreneur before this or?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I got into the corporate world a little late in the game. So I actually had I live in Nashville, and I had a consulting business, right, if you remember MySpace when that first came out. Nashville, the 2 big industries are healthcare and entertainment, and I had a business that was essentially building MySpace pages for I would sell to record labels and to artist management companies, and I would do these MySpace promotions around a record release, and I did that for a couple years. And the entertainment industry is just a weird beast. And the record label I was working with got purchased by Warner Brothers, and everybody got laid off. So I had no contacts, and a mentor said, "Hey, you might think about going into the corporate world and viewing it like you can pick up some business skills that you're lacking, and you can kind of learn on someone else's time." So I took his advice, and so I went into the corporate world, always intending to leave it. And I was going in to just kind of see what I could learn, because I was really at a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do entertainment, and I was still just a real newbie in terms of marketing. So that was my reason for getting into the corporate world.
Okay, got it. And what was it that you were doing?
Yes. So I first started out just they called it general communication. So I was doing a lot of writing, both internal and external. But I had some technical chops, so I could do some graphic design. I could build websites because I'd learned a little bit of coding through doing the MySpace stuff, and I just tended to be kind of a quick learner on things that are technical, and in my role inside the corporate world, I kind of moved towards the marketing space. That was just the stuff I was interested in. Marketing, why people made buying decisions, and so social media was a big thing in corporate America. The companies trying to figure out how do you use social media, and that was intriguing to me. So I started getting involved with social media campaigns for the company I was working with, and then actually ended up switching companies to lead the social media team for a very large healthcare company, and that was the last gig I had before leaving 7 months ago.
Got it. So excellent. And did you have ever were your parents entrepreneurs at all, or anything, any other role models, or did you just it's just a path you fell into yourself?
Yeah, my dad. Well, yeah, you could say both my parents were, because my dad started his own business, and my mom was right there helping him run it. He was an accountant, or is an accountant still, and built that from the ground up. And I can still remember he did have a day job when I was younger, and would have clients come over at night to our house that he was doing bookkeeping for. So yeah, I definitely had that model from him, and just the idea of yeah, setting your own schedule, running your own business. That was not foreign to me at all. And
Right.
I worked. That was one of my first jobs, was working for him. I was like 8 or 9 years old.
That's great. And I think it's a great lesson. I mean, just for anyone listening, just how much of an influence parents can have on their kids and their children. And
Hmm.
and you're kind of keeping the tradition alive, it sounds like. I mean, your
Yeah.
daughter, we were just talking before we hit the record button, and I just want to share a little bit. I mean, your daughter really wanted, what was it, an American Girl doll? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, American Girl doll.
Okay.
That's who wanted it for her birthday. Today is her birthday. Yeah.
Right, right. So why don't you tell everyone the story? Like, so she wanted it for her birthday, and
Yeah, so she and we had kind of tried to keep the American Girl doll advertising away from her, because if you don't know it, it's like $120 is the entry fee to get an American Girl doll.
right.
And
That's just to get the
but
doll. That's
yeah,
not the
just
car and the clothes
oh
and the,
god,
yeah.
yeah, all the stuff. And so but they are good at finding their target market. And so she came and like, we want this. I want this doll. And so my wife and I said, well, your birthday's coming up this a few months ago, and if you can whatever money you are able to save up, we will match that. And she's very creative, very artistic, and so she got this idea that she could design these bookmarks. And so she had basically these tongue depressors. We got her a box of tongue depressors, and she got markers, and she would design these custom bookmarks. And she set up a little booth in her front yard, and people in the evening walks would buy them. And I posted a picture of her selling on Facebook, and I started getting all these orders for her through Facebook. And it was kind of wild. So she was like fulfilling these orders, these online orders coming in. Anyway, she ended up saving $75 from selling, wooden bookmarks.
Right.
And I was shocked. I was
Yeah.
shocked she had saved that much money. And so today, after this interview, yeah, we're going to pick out her American Girl doll. And I am just incredibly proud of her. And I wasn't that motivated when I was 7. She turned 8 today. But
I know. I can't believe she's 7, turning 8, and she's already done her own little project to make some money on the side to like buy something she wants. I mean, that's just such a great life. I just love that. Like to me, that's a wrap. Like, all right, call's done. Like get your kids involved. I mean, Jim Rohn, he always had the thing. He thinks kids should have 2 bikes, one to ride, one to rent. Like he's like, because no kid wants to go biking on their own. I mean, there's just such a great life. I love it. I love it. Because another quote from Jim Rohn is, was it, wages can earn you a living, but profits can earn you a fortune. And I think there's real truth to that. So I just thought that was great. I think it just speaks really highly of your parenting style. And I just wanted to share that with the listeners because I was inspired by that. I mean, that's just awesome. I saw some girls selling lemonade. Actually, no, I was house sitting in my parents' house because they were gone, and I just went by to make sure everything was okay. They have like wild animals that have to be fed in the back. They're old. That's what they do. The chipmunks and all that. And I was there, and I actually didn't see the girls, but they went knocking door to door in the neighborhood to tell people, "Hey, we got lemonade. You got to come buy some."
yeah.
And I thought that was great. And of course, I went and bought some of that, and that's just so heartwarming. So that's just like I said, what a great life lesson. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the other thing which I like is that it almost kind of proves the whole online business model thing that you have to have something that works offline first, or that works. And then if you put it online, you just get a larger audience and it can just exponentially impact and improve what you're doing. So,
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, it kind of prove the model that people walking by will indeed buy bookmarks, and so that gave me a reason to post it on Facebook, like, "Hey, isn't this cool? She's selling bookmarks."
yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
just kind of went from there. Yeah.
Which comes down to the equation: traffic times conversion. She had a sales pitch and a smile people couldn't deny. Her conversion rates were high, and she just needed more traffic, and you got her that traffic, and the result is she's getting her doll, which is just awesome. So
She is. She is.
anyways, yeah, so we're both beaming about that. I just think that's great. I love it. And I mean, I'm supposed to ask you about tips for sidestepping up, but I almost think that that's probably, like, if anyone's thinking, that might be an easy way, or not, I don't want to say easy, but a good thing to do is to try to make entrepreneurship fun and a family thing. Like if someone's doing a day job and wants to get out of it, that could just be a great way to get the kids on board and the wife on board and everyone, to try to make it like some kind of fun thing like that. I mean, she's not it's not work. She loves to draw.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, none of that
That's
was
right.
was grunt work for her. It's just a great example. Go, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we are actually intentional in like how we talk about money with our kids. And my son is 5. He's a little bit young to really understand,
Are you making
dollars and
bookmarks yet? Yeah.
dollars and cents. But with my daughter, we've never done like an allowance with her where it just shows up in an envelope somewhere. And we talked to her about the way that money comes into your life is by when you're able to do something valuable or create value for somebody else.
Yep.
And so if she is wanting money, I'll always and I got this from there's a TED talk Cameron Herold gave about raising kid entrepreneurs. And he talks about when his kids want money, like he'll say, can you find a few things that need to be done around the house, and then come to me, and we'll negotiate. And so that's kind of what we've done with my daughter. Of she wants some money. We're like, well, there's some leaves out in the yard. Could you go, kind of put not a proposal, but go tell me what.
Make me an offer.
Make me an offer. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So we've kind of got that dynamic going anyway, which I think in the long run will
it's going to
help.
pay off. It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off dividends. I mean, that's just brilliant. I mean, I'm already sold on the philosophy, and I don't have kids yet. I was a foster parent, but I think that's just wicked smart. Wicked smart. But all right, let's get back talking about you, though. So for you and this journey that you've been on, I mean, that's just great, though. Like I said, we could be a wrap on the call. Everyone's got their piece at work. Even if you're an uncle or a grandparent, I mean, that's just such a great way. And just even that proactivity, that mindset, because that's something that it's really frustrating for me. And honestly, I think that's one of the things that a lot of my clients love is they say I have that like ownership mentality, because it just sucks to have an employee that's just like watching the clock and collecting a paycheck and like wants to take everything they can from the business, like I'm going to take all the free stuff I can. Like, it's just a terrible mentality. So,
right.
But for you on your progression as an entrepreneur and even developing and training a new generation of entrepreneurs, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to come across?
Well, I mean, I could talk a little bit about kind of making that transition from having a day job and getting into a spot where I could support myself. I mean, building my business on the side, having a day job. I mean, that was extremely challenging, especially with a family, with 2 kids and a wife, and everyone who they're all super supportive of what I wanted to do, and so I don't say that to say, oh well, my wife or kids were like baggage or anything. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it's just kind of a different set of pressure in my experience anyway. Knowing that you have a family to support, and you don't really have the option like to leave your day job and live off of ramen noodles, so to speak. But
Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
It wasn't for me anyway. But I think so from that perspective, the biggest challenge for me was around making the most of my time. And because what I did not want to do was not be present for my family when I came home from work, and we do sit and have dinner together. It's an
Mm-hmm.
important part of the day for us, and um, I try my best. I don't check my phone during that time, and so that's kind of like it's very important to be present with my family, and so making the decisions on uh, what what I should and shouldn't be working on, learning to say no to opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
um, or to clients when I was. Um, when I was building a consulting business while having a day job, there were a couple of clients that I decided not to work with, even though there was going to be money there, primarily because I felt it would take me too long
Mm.
to offer the kind of value that they were looking for,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and two, I just knew that it just wasn't going to be the best use of
Best
my
fit.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's one of those things where, like, especially somebody like me who, like, I know I can pick up like technical things pretty quickly. So it was always tempting to say, well, I don't exactly know how to do that, but I could probably figure it out. And if I ever found myself thinking that way, it was sort of like a flag would go up, and I just wanted to be very conscious of that thought, because that meant that I was going to have to do more digging, more research.
Mm.
It'd take me more time
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
versus something that I knew, hey, I want to set this funnel up in Infusionsoft. I want a checkout page or a landing page. Like, boom, I don't have to think about that, and
Mm-hmm.
I can knock that out, and it's not going to take me as long. So, um,
Yeah, which is a great lesson. And honestly, I mean, I think that's a good lesson for anyone, regardless as if they're trying to balance a family and getting a business going. But I mean, what you just described is a standard service offering,
mhm.
like you're like, because that's something I talk to people frequently that they're like, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of the next thing, and it's really hard. I can't build a team, and I've got no time, and I can't focus on on my business because I'm so busy in it. But for you, it's like you just look, I've got very manageable things. These are things I do, and you're not, and these are things I don't do, and that earns a lot of respect from clients too. If you can say, especially if you ever comes back around to work with them, and you turned them down the first time, and then the second time you're like, yes, I can this time, like as opposed to just jumping all over anything that people will give you money for. I think there's a lot to be said in that, just in one, in producing a higher quality of work, two, being able to set clear expectations for the client, three, be able to give and meet deadlines, and four, like you just have peace of mind on the result, like what's being expected of you, what you are going to deliver. Like it's just a ton of clarity on that, and that's obviously that's something you learned over time, because it's just not something a
Sure.
lot of people just are born with. Because that's great insight there. So let's talk a little bit about what you are doing for clients. What do you do for clients, and what's kind of working the best for some of your clients right now? Anyone that's listening that has a business, an online business or something, is there anything that you're working on that's really exciting, or that you've been doing recently and having good results with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I I have found, through kind of through word of mouth. So I've been working with a few clients who've been very successful in direct mail,
Mm-hmm.
and but they don't have any kind of real web operation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I promote myself as, like, I'm the guy behind the scenes, that is, making sure that you're, primarily I'm working inside of Infusionsoft. There are a couple other programs, but building out launch funnels, or if somebody wants to, if they're buying traffic or something, setting up those front end funnels with the upsells, and helping out with the copy, and the emails, and the psychology of increasing conversions along the life cycle of the funnel. But what's been a lot of fun and new for me is taking controls that are in direct mail. And for, like, one client, for example, he's got a prospect campaign that he'll mail out this letter to cold traffic, and he's getting like a 1.3% response rate, meaning people are purchasing. And in direct mail, if you get a 1%,
yeah, that's great.
If you get 1% response in direct mail, like
that's a winner.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so this thing is doing really well. And so we've converted that. We're in the process of converting that whole campaign into an online campaign. And so it's looking at, what are we what's the hook going to be in the advertising? And then the copy's already there. And so it's like you're piecing the email sequences together, and you're spoon feeding people the sales letter through a drip sequence, and that's and that whole process is just a lot of fun, because it's Gene Schwartz in Breakthrough Advertising. He talks about I don't write copy, I assemble it. And that's very much how I feel doing this work with this particular client. And I have another client now that's coming on, and we're starting the same process with him. And it's kind of this interesting niche, because direct mail is something that a lot of people don't think of. And so I'm actually learning a lot about direct mail. I'm a perpetual student, and so I'm just really interested in seeing how people are building these really successful businesses without the web.
Yeah, and that's a great point. There's a couple of great things we can talk about on this topic, because I mean, direct mail is the original internet marketing.
That's right.
In the early days of internet marketing, that's what people did. They just put their sales letter on a page, and they sent people to the page, and they treated it like direct mail. Like, we're going to drop this into your mailbox, and away you go. They're like, hey, we're going to email these people and get them to this page and get them to read it, and it made sales. And for a long time, that was a really, really, really profitable thing to do. Now, the copy has to be extremely compelling in order to do that. Just drive people to a sales letter. It still does work in some instances, but I love what you're this, because there's so many lessons in direct mail to be had, and online marketing is just an evolution of direct mail, almost verbatim. And even what you're talking about here is taking the sales letter and putting it as a process. That's essentially, like, right now, that's basically Jeff Walker's product launch formula. It's the sideways sales letter. When you build the sales letter, like you said, you assemble it. There's a headline to get attention, and then there's all these pieces that pull people in, and then there's a pitch at the end and the guarantee. And he's like, we just do that sideways over a few days, over a few emails and a few videos, versus bam, all in one shot, expecting people to read the whole letter all at once. And so that's great. The other part of that, which you also mentioned before, is that it was tested. I mean, they did it backwards, but what a lot of people can do is you can test your letters online, and then, because offline is so much more expensive, right? Once you're putting letters in the mail and buying names, so much more expensive. So online, since it's so cheap and easy, it's a great place and way to test your letters before you mail them. Test your ads before you put them in the magazine. Test them before you put them on a billboard. All that sort of stuff.
And that's where having the right people on board, and in terms of like making sure that you're targeting the right, whether if it's direct mail, you're working with the right list broker. If it's online, that you are buying access to the right type of traffic. And that was one of the things that I used to do for people, is buy traffic. And then there's a lot of freedom in realizing, like, I'm not the best at buying traffic, and I don't actually like it that much. And then finding that, why not just find out who the expert is in Facebook ads or Google AdWords, or buying a direct mail list. And there's this freedom of, like, I don't have to worry about that. I can let them do their thing. I can do my thing. But yeah, you're exactly right, that whichever one you start with, the key is market and message match. Dan Kennedy talks about the triangle. I forget the third end.
Market, message, and medium. Because
right.
If you're targeting an older demographic, for example, I have a client where no one under 30, she targets females, and no one under 30 buys, essentially. They're not going to be the most tech savvy people. I mean, if it's 35 and over, and a large part of them are over 50, I mean, they're not the most technical, right, people. So that's a great market that you would still want to use offline media for. But we've tested so much stuff online; it can be
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's just a piece of cake to take it offline. And it also goes back to that T times C equals conversion part. Once you got something that works, you just need to get it in front of more people. So there's a lot of great lessons that you've just shared right here, and I think it's awesome. I think it's so awesome. So really, really, really cool. Do you have any insights into social media? That's something that I wasn't on my list of questions, but it was something I wrote down just because you said you were so involved in it, and it was a large company, and obviously they're well funded, and they probably experiment with a ton of different things. So what could you tell some of the listeners about social media? If there's people listening to this, how would you summarize how to use social media for a business?
Okay, yeah. So I did learn, and that is the way to think about it, like for a business, because it's um, the healthcare company I was working with, and healthcare is a little different. So it's not like, um, hey, come buy this widget. Like it's, you're not giving like buy one get one off of a knee replacement or something like that. It's very more focused on like trust building and showcasing expertise because uh, for a hospital, for example, like you assume as a patient, like you assume that when you go into a hospital, like that people are competent, and you assume that you're not going to walk out of there with a disease that you didn't have before.
Right, or missing parts or extra
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, exactly. And so there were a lot of times where you're working with executives, and the kind of marketing that they want to put out is they want to brag about um, the things that consumers already expect. So it's like no news. It's like saying we're number one in quality. Um, well, that okay, that's true. Like you got this award, but your target market doesn't care about that.
Right.
They like you really want to connect with the person who knows that maybe they've got a pain in their shoulder. We'll take this example because with Google, more people try to self-diagnose before they actually call a doctor, and so the opportunity in healthcare. And I think this will apply outside of that, but the opportunity there was let's help people self-diagnose themselves, and let's build trust that way. So either through how we're using YouTube, we would build these playlists inside of YouTube, and it was just focused on like one area of the body. And if you've got a pain in your shoulder, it could be this, it could be that. Here's how we treat this. If you do have to have surgery, like here's how the surgery works. Here's what recovery looks like. Here are the questions like you should ask your general practitioner. And so it was really just giving away a lot of free content without having to be in the doctor's office. And keep in mind, like this could be for like a hospital in Nashville, but somebody in Montana is looking at it, and so you just have to be okay with knowing that not every single person who watches the video is going to book an appointment. But with your advertising, then because if you're in social media, like you have to be advertising. That's how you get in front of anyone to make it profitable. So yeah, you're making sure that you're targeting the right folks. But that would be, I guess, one of the things that I learned from a business standpoint is that consumers are looking for either they're looking for a discount from a business, so they want something free, or they want a reason to follow you on Facebook, and they're just looking for you to help them do what it is that they're setting out to do. I don't know if that.
No, I like that. So first, you mentioned reason why.
Yeah.
which I love because it's not branding. It's not, hey, I'm here in the corner. If you want to come talk to me, it's not that at all. It's, hey, here's a discount. Hey, here's a coupon. Hey, here's a special, right? So
Hmm.
I love that. And then the other part, which is something that I know that I've seen a lot of people make as a mistake, is it's targeting a very specific problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like I can help you make your entire life fantastic. In fact, I'm not going to mention any
Hmm.
names, but a friend of mine who's got a business that's been very successful in the life coaching arena, he's just recently been struggling a little bit. And I remember taking a look at it and I'm telling him, like, it's too generic. Like, he had an opt-in that he was trying to push for this funnel. And it was like, like, we'll make everything sunshine and rainbows, essentially, was what it was. Like, we'll fix everything in your life. And I'm like, that's really generic. And the whole thing about the internet is its relevancy. Relevancy is king online, so I think that's a really powerful thing, and I really hope that doesn't get lost on anyone, that you're basically saying on social media, one, do you have to pay to reach new people, but you could probably get immediate feedback on whether your promotion feels like sleazy or not.
That's right.
But then reason why advertising, and then on top of that, like really, really specific pain point solutions, and that starting that, hey, are your teeth hurting? Have you tried this? Here's a list of 5 things that you can do, or here's how to mix 3 chemicals everyone has in their house to make some sort of toothpaste that might take the pain away, or something like that, right? And then
Hmm.
if that didn't help you, maybe you need to come into the dental clinic and let us take a look at it. And there you've already kind of gained their trust, right? You helped them, you
Yeah.
tried to help them and let them to do it yourselfer, right? But hey, we hit a wall, let's take this to the next step now, and why don't you come see us? So I think that's really powerful. Really, really powerful, because direct mail also is not about branding. Direct mail is not like,
That's right.
hey, it's a yes or no proposition.
Yeah, it's definitely not what do I have to do to put you in this car today? It's like understanding. It started from a place of service and providing value first, uh, without the expectation that you will in fact get something in return.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that is important, and this is across any market, is, but especially in healthcare, is using the language that your
Mm.
customer uses. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of people in healthcare. They wouldn't want to call doctors providers, right? And nobody, unless you're in the healthcare business, calls a doctor a provider.
Yep.
Insurance companies call doctors providers,
Yep.
and so you might have the greatest message and helping, the best content that can help somebody, but if I'm reading that, I'm like, what the heck's a provider? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
That's like, I know that's from Yellow Pages days. A big thing was everyone was talking about auto insurance, but no one's like, I'm looking for some auto insurance. You're looking for car insurance, and that's a
right.
great thing. So social media can let you, and this is something a lot of people don't even realize. And I think this is worth saying. Like when we talk about direct mail being kind of the original online marketing, the huge benefit you get online is transparency. Like not only into what's working, what's not, and speed of it, but the transparency and speed of data collection, because now you can just go and do some Google searches, and like when someone puts a keyword into Google, they're literally taking the thought out of their head and putting it into the search bar. And you can just search using Google Trends, put keywords into it, and see who in the world is asking this question the most, where's the largest concentration of them. I mean, if I was going to do an event on solving acute shoulder pain, I would figure out what, like you said, the words that the market is using, and you can put that into Google Trends, and it'll tell
Hmm.
you, like, if you do live events, what cities you should promote your events in, because these are the places people are searching for solutions for acute shoulder problems the most. And it's just never before in the history of humanity have we ever had that sort of crystal ball to look into people's heads. I mean, you could even see in Google, they don't release it, but with the free tools you can try, if there's some sort of like natural disaster in a city or something, like they get to see what are the people searching for, how are the people feeling, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
like different stuff, but you can see trends and emerging. And so just spending some time online social media, you can go and comb and collect so much beautiful data and vocabulary and pain points and problems from what people in the market are suffering from, and then just provide solutions for them, which is, again, it's before you couldn't do that without personally interviewing like hundreds of people. So
Right,
yeah.
right. And you know, the one of the tools that I use for that specific purpose is actually I go to Amazon and look at 1 and 2 star reviews
Mm,
of books that are in the topic. And so like that's one of the ways that I feel like so one of the things that I'm good at is I can pretty quickly understand and empathize with a market, with a specific avatar.
hmm.
And one of the ways that I'm able to do that is I'll have my virtual assistant. I'll give her, say, this is like the category
Hmm.
of books, and go find the top 10 bestsellers, and then I just want a data dump of all the 1 and 2 star reviews, because that's where you're going to see the people who obviously they were upset for whatever reason, but you get to see where that product fell short, and you see
Hmm.
the language, like, well, you didn't talk about this
Hmm.
in the book, or I thought the book was going to do this, and all it was a fluff piece. And but you get to see those words of like what uh, they're like naming the gaps for you.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
And then you take it a step further, and I'll put it into like a word cloud um, solution or tool. And you know what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so word cloud or a tag cloud. And so for
yeah, yeah,
anyone that
yeah,
doesn't know what that
exactly.
is, sometimes you see that on the sidebar of a site when you go to a site and it's a bunch of keywords, and some
Yep.
of them are bigger and some of them are smaller. And basically it depends on the frequency. The more frequent that keyword shows up, the bigger it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a more of kind of like a visual way to see if there's like a word that's being repeated over and over and over again. Sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes it's worth looking at.
Worth doing, yeah, because entire businesses are built around specific keywords.
Hmm.
So that's a huge tip right there. I mean, and again, the transparency. I did an interview, Ben Simkin, another one of our interviews. Anyone hasn't listened to that, that's a good one to go listen to. He is a paid marketer, paid Facebook advertiser. He has an agency, and his agency is responsible for helping now generate over $1.4 billion in sales for his clients with Facebook ads. In our interview, he was like, if I had, like Abraham Lincoln's quote, if I had 6 hours or 7 hours, whatever the number was, to plan a campaign for a client, I would spend 6 of them, focusing on the target market, like avatar research and what the pain points they're having and the
That's
problem.
right.
He would spend 6 of the 7 hours on the research. And so that's a huge tip, because the best thing you also mentioned, and this is a distinction people on the call may not have realized, but the benefit of what you just said is that you're getting the feedback from buyers. And there is a
Hmm.
huge difference between people just in the kind of just browsing around, people that are kicking tires, and people that are actually putting dollars for information, and spending money on that. And that's a great tip. You're basically going to say, hey, who's everyone that's spending money on books and information in this market, and what are they pissed off about?
Hmm.
And that's a great spot, because then you can find out what everyone's not getting and everyone's unhappy with, and you can just serve up the proper solution. And that's the way to do it. And then it's not trying to force a product nobody wants down someone's throat. So that's a great tip. What are some of the mistakes that you see your clients and other entrepreneurs making, other marketers? What are some of the most common mistakes you see people making?
Yeah. So it would be, I guess maybe the term for it is like shiny object syndrome.
Mm,
And there's. Have you read the book Essentialism?
yes. The
Yeah.
audiobook, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Same here. Yeah, I'm an audiobook guy too. But it's that is probably being able to focus on kind of like the one key thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to move your business forward today
Right.
and tomorrow is really hard. So I don't say, you know, like the mistake is shiny object syndrome, and so I don't say that like in a shaming way. Like, I actually understand it, because as the business owners that I work with, I mean, they're focused on, you know, what can we put in the business now to build for growth in the future. And so I actually completely get it, why they want to try a whole bunch of different things. But for the ones who, you know, if we can put and this is where kind of the project management piece comes in a little bit, which is not my favorite role, but holding people accountable to, like, hey, we're gonna work on this particular project. Here's how we're going to know if it's successful or not, and this is going to be our focus for, you know, the next 7 days, the next 30 days, and kind of setting milestones. Like, it's kind of you know, it's just like, it's the boring, hard part of, like, just doing the work, like coming up with the idea, and all, like, the dreaming of the possibilities of what this idea could bring. It's that release of endorphins and dopamine, and it feels good. And then, okay, awesome, now let's execute on it. And you know, like, I totally understand. I totally understand how execution and how that's just a hard thing. I'm actually not. We were talking about Colby scores in our pre-interview, and I don't score very high on implementation, but I do score very high on follow through. So for me, I know it's important that I've got to put people around me who can implement, and I'm okay holding folks accountable to getting stuff done. But I think just knowing your strengths and weaknesses. But that, to answer your question, the mistake that I see is probably not a new one, but it's just losing focus on kind of the one thing.
Yeah, that Stephen Covey, author of 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, has got a great quote on that, where he says the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Right.
That's right.
And
that's right.
And focus is another quote that I really love. Lots of people credited or attributed to it, but it's follow one course until successful. You know, and that's really important. I think that's a good thing too. I mean, Brian Tracy calls it eating the frog. You know, for a lot of people in their business, and even if you're listening to this and you have a day job, you would be so well served by allowing yourself the time and the space in the mornings just to focus on the one big thing that if you got only this done, you could take the rest of the day off. And ask yourself that. That's a great productivity thing. Yep. If I only get one thing done today, what does it need to be? And give yourself a space every day, every morning to just, you're not on email, you're not doing anything, you shut out the world. Doesn't matter what fires happen. All you're doing is focusing on that one key thing. All the problems, everything else will still be there when you come back, and just avoid that shiny object, you know, that shiny object syndrome, or that urge to just procrastinate. So that's a good tip. That's a really good tip.
Yeah, when I was in the corporate world, I would I would put like fake meetings on my calendar.
Yeah.
For that reason. Yeah. And usually for me it was best to do it early in the morning. So like 8 to 10. My calendar was always booked from 8 to 10 because and I would shut email down, do just what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I've got a friend of mine. He used to run $100 million company, and that's one of the things he says. He's trying to help business owners in a particular niche now. He's kind of left that job. He's kind of retired, young guy, retired in his mid-30s, and anyways, that's something he was talking to him and I were talking about that. A lot of people in his market, he's like, honestly, a lot of these guys, they just need to wake up every day and just get the one thing done every day. He's like, there's just a lot of people, you know, time management just seems a big problem. They just haven't learned to wake up and just do that one thing. And I think when you're managing a $100 million company and all the subsidiaries and all that, that's what you do. You wake up and you do the one thing, you know, every day. And that's how you keep that ship moving forward. So now, do you feel that there are any habits that you have that have helped you on your path to success? Are there any habits or rituals that you think have really served you?
Well, when you said rituals, it made me think of something different than habits. But I'll say, so one of the things that I am really consistent with is gratitude. So I do start most days. I do start with a gratitude list, and it's evolved over time. But and so I used to have like a pre-written list that was like some positive affirmations and then list of things that I was grateful for, and I would read the same list over and over. I've done that for years, and now what I more do is actually just write it out and think, what am I grateful for today? And I'll come up with 3 things. So that is definitely a ritual that I've been doing for a few years. Yeah.
And a good one too. Gratitude's great because it helps it's like mental floss. It helps just clear all the doubt and the cobwebs out of your head, just to stop and think about what you're grateful for and just to try to take the stress away. I think, when people do their best work, it's often when they're feeling it depends on the person. Some people work great under pressure, and a lot of people when they're having fun and when things are at ease. And if you wake up and you're bringing the stress from the day before with you, or you wake up and you have a rough morning with the kids because for whatever reason they just woke up with their hair on fire, no rhyme or reason. I think that's a really good grounding habit to have. Very, very cool. So, do you see any future trends in your industry? Do you see where things are going as far as like online marketing and the sales funnels thing? Where do you think it'll be in 5 years, 10 years? Do you think it'll change a lot? Is it leaning towards one thing or another, or something up and coming we should be aware of?
Well, and maybe this is a recency effect. I don't know, but I think so. If most people look at their inboxes right now, they're probably incredibly full, and they're probably very full with marketing messages. And the one inbox that has more space in it is the mailbox, and so I've been thinking about. Wondering, like, could we see almost is the big opportunity in marketing going to be maybe not like a full pendulum swing all the way back like to direct mail, but I think the people who are paying attention are going to start noticing, hey, there's less competition in the mailbox. And again, even yes, it's more expensive, but if you're working with the right list broker, someone who can help you with targeting, it's actually very profitable. And if you think about the experience of you go to your mailbox, and if you were to get like a piece of lumpy mail, that even if you don't know who sent it, if it's 3-dimensional, like you're going to open it. You're going to open it. And if your targeting is right, then I think people could be surprised at how profitable it could be. So that's one. I don't know if it classifies as a trend, but a prediction is that direct mail would have a resurgence from people who've just focused on online marketing. Because if you're just one of my clients, he talks about single channel marketing is so boring, and he's all about multi-channel, and so I've learned a lot from him, but yeah, I think people look at email, they look at online because it's a low barrier to entry. It's cheap. You can test quickly. I think there's going to be a critical mass where it doesn't pay off the way it used to in the glory days, and people have to find other channels.
Yeah, I think I can piggyback on that just in the sense of, like, right now, part of what's ruined online marketing in a lot of terms, at least in the terms of like buyer confidence. It's just that it's because of the low barrier of entry. There's so much junk, And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even myself, I put junk out. Where if I had to sign a check, if I had to write a couple of thousand, if I had to spend a couple of $1,000 to mail this out, you'd think through it a lot more carefully, right? Than just putting up
Mm-hmm.
like a WordPress blog or a page or some and blah and spending $50 on Facebook ads and being like, or whatever ads, LinkedIn, and be like, well, let's see what happens. I think that's really true, and I think that's a really good point. And I love the point on multi-channel. I think that that's definitely going to be coming more into play because you've got apps, you've got social media, you've got
Mm-hmm.
text messaging, you've got email, you got snail mail. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to reach out to people, and I think that's definitely a good insight for people to come.
Radio too.
Radio, yeah, radio podcasts. Hey,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The sponsorships on podcasts, on radio shows. People like you who've built up a tribe. Like I think, right now, like even just buying sponsorships on podcasts, it's still in its infancy.
yes,
Because you don't get the best data from Apple.
no,
So you don't get all the good demographic data just yet, but I think there's going to be some.
some
I would guess there'd be some changes in being able to help sponsors target better.
I would hope that too, and I've hoped the same for Amazon forever. I've got books on Amazon. I got one of my books at #1 in my category, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't care where they rank anymore. Like I did that, and I did it to say that I could do it to prove that what I teach works. But after that, because you don't get any data, I mean, you're just fanning the flames. You have no idea what's working, what's not. You don't even
Right.
get a customer list. It's just like a terrible, for me, a terrible way to do business. I mean, you're talking about direct mail. Anyone listening to this, if you guys want to make some money or help your clients make some money, get them to mail an offer to a past customer. Like that's just it's a
Mm.
no-brainer. Go back to anyone that's ever done business with you, come up with an offer relevant to something you think would apply to them, and just mail it. And that's the best mailing list. You'll never get a list that works better than your own happy customer list. Keyword happy customer list. They'll come back and buy from you again and again and again. And a postcard or an envelope, I mean, that's the best couple of bucks you could spend because one, I mean, like you said, the inbox or our mailboxes are so empty. It's like something people look forward to. Either, hey, I got a postcard, like, hey, I
Yeah.
got a letter. I mean, it's really, there's a lot of novelty around it, and I think that there's a lot of brilliance for people that can capitalize on that. As it stands right now, I do that just as a default. Anyone who buys anything from me, the very first time they buy it, they get a postcard from us. At least
Mm-hmm.
in
Oh, that's
North
great.
America, and it's just if you're a first time buyer, hey, here's a post. You know what I mean? Just because it can be done, it can be automated, and it's just like you said, it's a way to bridge the multi channels, bridge more than one channel, because that's the other danger. If you only market using social media, the worst number in business is one. What happens when Facebook starts charging you to reach your audience? What happens?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just never know.
Yeah, that's right. And you bring up a really good point. That is actually one of the first places that I start when if the goal of a client is increasing sales, and I know that's kind of a broad topic, but you want to look at who's bought from you.
Yep.
Who spent $500 with you in the last 18 months, and instead of putting together a big cold traffic campaign where at best you're going to break even on that, and then
Mm-hmm.
hope to make it on the back end. Why don't you put together like a contact strategy that sends a handwritten note to your best customers and make an exclusive offer just to them because hey, you bought A, and so that tells me that you're this kind of person. You're probably interested in B,
Mm-hmm.
and because you are who you are, here's a special offer
Here's a
just for you.
reason why, yeah, here's a reason why we should do
Yeah.
business again, and a reason why there's a deadline attached to it, and a reason
Hmm.
why I'd love to hear from you. That's a great tip. Yeah, that's a really good tip, Chris. Um, Very cool. Well, there's something else I want to ask you, but I forgot. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you? There was another question I had, but it's eluded me right now.
Um, well, I don't know. I mean, we didn't talk much about like transitioning out of the corporate world, and we've kind of talked more about like the consulting and the client stuff, which has been a lot of fun. Um, one thing I would want to share on that is when I was in my day job, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts like yours and looking for inspiration. It was always difficult for me to really identify with the guest um, if they didn't like have the family responsibilities that I had, and they were just like a young single person who again could live off of ramen noodles, and but I always appreciated like if I could find the parent who had a story to tell of how they built a business with a family, um, and so I'm sharing that because I would love to make more connections with people who are in that position. Not I don't have actually don't have anything to sell. I'm just interested in meeting people who are looking for something different. They have a family, because I do think it is a very unique position to be in.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that's a great idea. And I fully endorse anyone that's listening to this. If you're in that position, if you've got a full-time job and a family, and you're listening to my podcast and just trying to up your skill because you got this part-time or evening thing, or you want to start something, or you kind of got something going but it's not getting a lot of traction, you really need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And whether Chris eventually comes up with an offer or not, I think it's honestly in your best interest to not be afraid to reach out and to get involved and become part of a community of like-minded people who can support each other, because that's really what's going to make or break it for you. It's the books you read, the knowledge you gain, and the people you meet, and the people you surround yourself with. And so, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up, because there's just a lot of family values and a lot of in-depth knowledge that myself, someone without kids and not married at this time of this recording, I can't emulate with, and it's hard for me to understand and honestly even just come up with good. I mean, I could come up with ideas that I think, but you've been there in the trenches and and you live it even still to today. So if any of those people did want to reach out to you and did want to get in touch with you, what are some of the best ways to get in contact?
Yeah, so you can email me. It's Chris at chrismason.net. So you can just send me an email. I also put up a page for anyone who's interested. Go to chrismason.net/best, and I developed this little tool that one of the things when I decided, the pain of staying in my corporate job was greater than the pain of figuring out how to leave. At that point, to me, it was very much a numbers game. So the goal was I need to save up this many months of expenses, even if I don't have a business that is that can support my family. Like, I'm going to get this nest egg and then I'm going to leave. And so I had to use this little tool that I developed that I'd like to give to anyone who is interested in that. And I've got a little video walkthrough on how to use it, but basically figuring out like what is your runway, like your runway number before you can leave. So that's chrismason.net/best.
That's awesome. Perfect. So again, Chris Mason, Mason.
That's right.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. I know, like you said, it's your little girl's birthday. You could be doing 101 other things. You've already got a full plate as is, so it's not necessarily like you're fielding out new clients. Sure, you probably, depending when people listen to this, you might be interested, but I know you could be doing 101 other things for yourself, for your clients, for your family and loved ones. So thank you for coming and sharing with myself and my audience and just helping bring these things to light. We talked about a lot of really great stuff. We talk about, building entrepreneurial values in the family, about, talked about just methods that work, online and offline strategies, multi-marketing channels. Talked about the history of marketing and why some of it sucks so much. Talked about stepping out of a job and how to roll into a new one, or not a new one, sorry, how to roll into like your new career as an entrepreneur and a business owner. So I think there's a lot of value in here, and I think there's a lot of tips and stuff that hopefully our listeners have benefited from. And so just thank you so much, and I just wish you and your wife and your daughter and your you got 2 kids. So what's your other son's name?
My son's name is Grady.
Grady. Okay,
yeah.
Grady. So I hope you guys just have a wonderful day today, and just thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Gerald. This was a lot of fun.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.